Well, hello from my home here in Scottsdale, Arizona in the United States. How's everybody doing? How's the world doing? I mean, some crazy things have happened all over the world with all the issues that have been going on. It's just like, how do we follow everything, and how some politicians do it, I really don't know when it comes to resolving major issues. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about an issue that's going on between two countries that I've been and I've absolutely enjoyed all my times there in both of those places. And I think you've seen some of the video from the past. Yes, indeed, if you are not aware, there's a huge battle going on between Thailand and Cambodia. And it has been pretty much been a strain between these two countries that are spreading out into 7 different provinces in Thailand. And 4 of those are hugely affected. And there's been a history that's been going on in regards to one of the temples that is actually on the border with Cambodia, from Thailand. And, we talk about the old Golden Age Khmer temple. Tons of Khmer temples all over in Cambodia, as well as eastern Thailand, and just as close to Bangkok over in Ayutthaya. Now, the situation has come pertaining to one of the temples, and it's the Hindu temple, it's a Khmer temple, and that is the Preah Vihear temple. And it is situated on the border between those two countries. And technically, based on a survey back in 1962, that temple is actually barely on the side of Cambodia. And according to the International Court of Justice, back in 1962, they surveyed the temple of being Cambodia. However, tensions has arose over the years, and has been arising over the years of what, the side of the temple has been on. And tension has been brought up again that began in May of this year in 2025, at the end of May. But before I get into all that, I want to explain to you some of the history, my travel history that I have with Cambodia. And I'll tell you, it's been great. And I want to explain to you some of the things that I've done in Cambodia. My first time into Cambodia was in 2023, and I was at the age of 48. My first time ever in Asia, and I couldn't get enough of it, and just kept returning to Asia. And I made a number of stops along the way, beginning in January 2023. Started in Singapore, went to Malaysia, went to Thailand, and I went to Cambodia. And when I flew from Bangkok to Phnom Penh, that was in February 2023, and that was my first time ever inside Cambodia. And getting in there, that was kind of an interesting deal. You got to prepare yourself to get in with the visa preparations and all that jazz. And I spent 3 days in Phnom Penh and checked out some of the beautiful places of the King Prahad Yacht. One of the temples there, and a number of places. The Wat Penen is another one. And you kind of going up this hill, and you're kind of looking around. It's pretty cool, pretty ancient to see. And another place that I saw that was pretty cool was the statue of the king Norodom, and was within the inside that whole area of the temple complex, there was a silver pagoda, and it was pretty ancient. I saw, and it was kind of a fascinating scenery. And then I checked out I did a nice dinner cruise on the Mekong River and a couple of rivers that kind of crisscross over a little bit. And, that was the Tony Sop River. And you see, like, along the banks, a ton of fishermen. A lot of them are from Vietnam, that they're out, fishing, and they have their shacks right off the banks, and that's how they do their living. And pretty fascinating stuff. And then pretty close by that there'll be, the city is actually under construction in terms of building a new airport. In fact, they may be through with that. So new airport, which I flew in the old airport. It needs to go. It's old. So, but as I left Phnom Penh, I took a bus ride and went all the way to the border with Vietnam. And that was in a little town called Bavet. And had a little bit of lunch there, and then checked out, and then checked in with Vietnam. I went through those procedures, and it was like a long bus ride to get from there to Ho Chi Minh City. I mean, from Phnom Penh to Ho Chi Minh City, which is known as Saigon in Vietnam. I think we left like 8 o'clock in the morning. It got there around 1, and it was like just a slow, going of a ride that was like we're only doing about 60 kilometers per hour, 65 kilometers per hour, which is about 40 miles an hour, just the whole way. But it was a long drive. The next stop in Cambodia, the following year, that was in April of 2024. I was over in a place called Siem Reap. And I flew in from Bangkok once again into Siem Reap and visited a really nice ancient place that is an old ruins of the temple, the Hindu temples, the Khmer, and everything. It's the top of the top. And in fact, that particular temple is on the Cambodian flag, and that is Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat. You go there in the morning. When you go to the Angkor Wat, you got to get there first thing in the morning before the sunrise. And when you're facing east, you see the sunrise. It's a beautiful, scene with the sky. Be sure, if all possible, you do it on a clear day. It is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I walked all over Angkor Wat, and just there were so many other temples surrounding outside of Angkor Wat, and one of them is Angkor Thom, which is just about 5 minutes up the road. Really phenomenal of ancient places that are that were old ruins from the from the 9th, 10th, and 11th century. Incredible. And then at night, you may want to check out Phnom Balcony. And you're actually climbing up or walking up this hill, going all the way up, and you see the beautiful sunsets going the other way. And I didn't fully completely see the sunset set due to some clouds that were out in the distance, but it was still a pretty nice scene. Definitely a place to see when you're in Siem Reap. And then the entertainment areas in downtown or in the central business district of Siem Reap, the Green Market and the Riverside Night Market. Absolutely, two of those places you want to go for some good, cheap food, or you want to check out a couple of nice restaurants here and there, have a couple of drinks. No question about it. You gotta check those places out while you're at Siem Reap. And the third place, Khmer Phnom, which is known as Koh Kong. And that's what everybody calls it, Koh Kong. And forget about the previous name, nobody remembers it. It's always known as Koh Kong. And this town is just right off the Gulf of Thailand, just south of the border from Thailand, which is right on that southern tip of the southeastern tip of Thailand, where it's like a really skinny piece of land that is owned by Thailand, and it's in the province of Trat, and then you cross right over, and then all of a sudden you're right into switching sides of the road, driving from the left side, and then going into the right side once you get into Koh Kong, into Cambodia. Pretty fascinating stuff. And what Koh Kong consists, tons of camping. And they have some bungalows, and they have, there's areas that have bungalows and cabins or whatever, and what have you. And then, your normal, typical, hotel, places in the village. But then when you get closer on the outside of the town of Koh Kong, then you are in more of the recreational areas, surrounding that. And I went into I stayed about 4 nights inside of a bungalow, just off the Gulf of Thailand. That was a lot of fun. Met a couple of awesome people there, and then did some of my tours, which obviously in Koh Kong, you see a number of markets, and then you go in an area where you have a lot of fishing, and there are a number of mangroves, and you kind of walk over mangroves, and you feel like you're just kind of in that mangrove forest type area, and then you see a ton of fishermen. They're fishing, and they live in these homes right by the water. Last and certainly not least, I saw a waterfall that was pretty cool. You kind of right in the middle of nowhere, where you feel like it's a good place to hide. Actually, if somebody's looking for you or trying to come after you or whatever, it'd be a good hiding place to go to. And then that was the Thai waterfall that I went to. It was pretty awesome. But that was kind of my experience of Cambodia, and then I crossed back over after I did my visa run, and from Thailand back into Trat of Thailand, and went back to Pattaya. Now all the fun talk is over, and I'm going to talk a little about some of the serious things that are happening along the border right now, pertaining to those two countries of Cambodia and Thailand. And I'm going to explain about the provinces that border with Cambodia from Thailand, because I'm most familiar with Thailand than I am with Cambodia. In terms of the geography standpoint. There are 7 provinces that border with Cambodia. And I'm going to explain about the situation of each of those provinces and my little bit of travel history of those provinces. I've been to 5 of the 7 provinces that border with Cambodia, and I'll give you some of the tidbit situations that are happening in each of those different provinces. So I'm going to start with you, the southeasternmost province of Thailand, and that is Trat. Trat is a pretty interesting place. I mean, you go and you're kind of like in this area that's really, really narrow, and it has an area that's known as the most narrowest part of Thailand. And you kind of look over away from the ocean, you see this big mountain, and I think the top of the mountain is the border with Cambodia, so it's pretty hard to get to. But then, I've experienced there are a couple of islands that are within that province of Trat, and one of them I went to, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And it was a Koh Chang Island, and a ton of just water recreations, a lot of walking. I didn't get into the inside part of the island that much, due to schedule restraints and a little bit of wet weather along the way, but it's neither here or there. But then Kokut was the other island that is actually right by the border with Cambodia. And, from my understanding, that island was a little bit affected or, within the areas of the border crossing, with, Cambodia and Thailand right at the bottom there. There was a number, from what I understood, attacks, that were coming in from the Cambodian forces that had a lot of people from the area within Trat to escape, and a number of injuries were reported. So it was pretty much what was happening that happened a couple of days ago, or yesterday may have been, on July 26th. And it's just it's tough, man. It's a beautiful place, and we had I think it was one casualty that happened. And then just the province to its north, Chanthaburi. I've only been into the city of Chanthaburi, but I've traveled through it by bus. Went through the town of Chanthaburi, made a stop there. Just kind of took a break, and we were working up the situation of picking up people from other tourists within Thailand to get back to where they were going, mostly in Pattaya or going up to Bangkok or what have you. I did visit a day market there, had just your Thai food and everything, and it was kind of an interesting place to say the least. And then what was happening in Chanthaburi, there's from my understanding, there's only one border crossing there, and a number of Cambodians were trying to cross over, and then the Thai authorities shut that down. But then they worked up some kind of agreement, from what I've read, to get them across and get them send them on their way back into Cambodia, but would not allow any travelers who are not Cambodians, or even Thai people for that matter, to cross into Cambodia. And another place I've been that is just north of Chanthaburi, that is Kaeo. Kaeo, my travels was pretty unique. Stayed at a nice, more like a small mom and pop, resident type, place. That had a couple little camping bungalows on the outside of a private permanent residence, and the people there, the owners there, were really nice and served great food, and that was just outside of town that is named after the province of Kaeo. And then the next morning, I actually went over to the border and across the town called Irana Pratet. And once I got over towards that border area, I went to a nice little day market, just kind of check out the town that's on the border. And then you look across the border into Cambodia, which I did not cross. Got to see all these high-rise buildings, and they're all hotels, casinos, and that was in the city of Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And the next province that I went to is Buri. And actually, I was suggested to go there from a friend of mine in Pattaya, who's from there originally, and I'm glad I did. And I visited a couple of the old ruins of the Khmer, temples, and there's one, Buddha temple that's around as well. A few of those, but there's one, I'll bring that up. But Phnom Run Historical Park is one of those I visited, and it's just a little bit south of the town, and it's just old, and it's just it's basically there permanently with old ruins from the early 10th, 11th centuries, and then into the town. I visited the Wat Rahan temple. Actually, that's just north end of town that I visited, and then King Rama I statue was right in the middle of the roundabout. That's pretty cool to see. The original king of Thailand, King Rama I. And then the last and certainly not least, the Buri Ram Castle. It was pretty awesome. So, but then in terms of what has happened with the conflicts of, with Cambodia, on a serious note, luckily, from what I read, there were no casualties that happened. That is in the Bon Trat district, which is on the border, but has a number of the old ancient ruined temples that are right along that border. I have not traveled to those areas, so I don't know anything about that area since I have not traveled to the border that borders with Buri Ram in Cambodia. But on the other hand, there are some issues within the province. There's some infrastructural damages. A number of evacuations did take place, and obviously civilians are disrupted, and that's kind of an issue that they dealt with over the past month and a half in Buri Ram. And when I was in Buri Ram, I actually took a trip into Surin, and that is another province directly east of the province of Buri Ram, and visited the town of Surin. And then I went around and checked out a number of places that had a nice city pillar shrine there. And then they had a number of places, a couple of really nice Buddhist temples that I visited. And there was a monument that was in the middle of right in the middle of a roundabout that was called Chanthaburi, and snapped a few photos of that and just kind of walked around. It was kind of an interesting town. And then I got in the car and I drove a little bit further east into an area that has an old Khmer temple that was from like the 12th century or something like that. It was called Sikhora Phnom. Sikhora Phnom is a place that I stopped and kind of looked around. It's kind of in a nice small yard, but it's a pretty ancient place from that old like I said, the 12th century. From those days that's been around for a long time, for the old Khmer ruins. And Surin has been involved with the conflicts with Cambodia, and there is a major temple that's in that particular area that's called Prasat Moen Temple that is right on the border with Cambodia. And in terms of the conflict, Cambodians had opened fire into Thailand that actually affected a couple of the districts that affected one hospital that was there, and then a number of homes and civilian casualties that happened. I did not travel into that area, but it's pretty tough at what's happening. And going into the remaining provinces that border with Thailand, I have not been, and they have been hit pretty well. And the next one to its east of Surin is Saket. And apparently a gas station got hit. And actually it's a popular gas station. So you have chains of the same gas station that's all over Thailand, especially around major highways. I believe it's a PTT station that was hit. And it contains a 7-Eleven convenience store, and then they have a number of street food that they offer, and I've been to a number of those places throughout the country, and great food, great service, great people, and it's a full service station. But that one got hit. The one got hit that was in Phnom village, and yes, there were a number of casualties that happened along the way, a number of civilian deaths, including an 8-year-old child. And it's just I've seen some of the photos of what took place. I mean, that was just absolutely terrible. And and then that was just like what do you do from that standpoint? and then a rocket landed in another part of the province, which was the Chanthaburi district. That was a hit as well, and one person was killed from what I read, and a number of homes were hit. Yeah, it was gotta be a tough place to be, for all these innocent people in that part of the country. And the furthest northeastern part of the border that borders with Cambodia from Thailand is Ubon, Ratchathani, and they were hit pretty well, especially in the district of Phnom, the one district. They were hit pretty well with a number of evacuations and casualties. About 130,000 people were evacuated from that particular area, and over about 30 people were killed. Mostly soldiers, a ton of rocket fire exchanges in that part of the area, not too far from the country of Laos. Laos is also part of the border with both countries of Cambodia and Thailand, and just a small portion of that border with Ubon Ratchathani, borders with with Cambodia. But I will say this: it's good that they have came up with an agreement to cease all fires, cease everything, and just put everything to rest. And I know there's just a lot of battle over the years, with the temples, the Khmer ruins. They're straddled the borders, between Thailand and Cambodia, and I hope everything is all done after discussions and the agreements that were made between the two prime ministers. Well, one of them's the interim in Thailand, and then with the involvement of Cambodia, and obviously obviously my country. We have some people who went over to help things out, to make things run smoothly. It's been a tough month and a half for these people in both of those countries, and I hope someday I can get to the border in those provinces that I have not been to see. Some of those areas that are the tourist hotspots, and unfortunately we cannot do that right now, and we cannot do that for at least for a while. So we just gotta hunker up, hunker down, whatever, and just everything is safe in Thailand, and everything is out anywhere outside of the radius of about 50 kilometers, which is about 31 miles from the U.S. terms. All the provinces that do not border Cambodia are now safe, or have always been safe. So if you want to go to Bangkok, you want to go to Pattaya, you want to go to Rayong, you want to go to Hua Hin, Phuket, Krabi, Koh Samui, or maybe run all the way up north into Chiang Mai, Pai, and Chiang Rai, or even go to areas like Prey, Nan, Lampang, or Korat, which is also named as Nakhon Ratchasima, or head up to all the way up to Udon Thani, what have you, or even Khon Kaen for that matter. So all those places are safe to go in Thailand, and then on top of that, if you still want to see Siem Reap in Cambodia, or even go into Phnom Penh, I would imagine those places are just as fine as well. So, it's tough for both of those places, and I'm sure currently there are no land crossings, but I have not checked out to see if there are any flights that are going between the two countries, going from Bangkok to Phnom Penh, or I think Chiang Mai may have flights going to Phnom Penh. I don't know, but there you have it. I hope you're informed. I hope I did my best to educate you a little bit what's going on and what my travel experiences were. Wherever you go, wherever you are, stay safe, stay happy, enjoy, keep traveling, and just avoid those, areas that you need to avoid where there's conflict, and you'll do just fine. So, nothing to be alarmed about. Enjoy, like, subscribe, and appreciate what I've shown you in this particular segment of this video.